Hey, welcome. Ever stop and think about what makes a company, a government, or even just a small team, work? It's definitely not magic. It's something we call organization. It's like the invisible architecture that takes a bunch of individual efforts and turns them into something amazing. So let's dive into the blueprints and see how it all comes together. At its heart, organization is really the answer to this super fundamental human question. It doesn't matter if you're building the pyramids or launching a tech startup, right? The challenge is always the same. How do you get a whole group of people to move in the same direction, all working toward a common goal?
This is not a new problem at all. People have been thinking about this for ages. Take someone like J.D. Mooney. He saw organization in its purest form. For him, it was just the shape we give our teams and our societies whenever we decide to go after something together. It's all about that common purpose.
Then you've got other thinkers like Luther Gulick, who came along and added another layer of precision to that idea. He basically said, yeah, purpose is important, but it's not just about purpose. It's also about the formal structure of authority, how we actually divide up the work, define everyone's roles, and coordinate all those moving parts so we can hit our objectives. Okay, so let's pull those two big ideas together into one clear definition that we can use for this explainer. Here it is. Organization is the deliberate arrangement of people and the smart allocation of what they do, all designed to accomplish some kind of agreed-upon purpose. Simple, right? This is going to be our foundation. All right, so now that we have our foundation, there are basically two fundamental blueprints that pretty much every organization uses, whether they even realize it or not. We're talking about formal and informal structures. Think of it like this, okay? On one hand, you've got the official org chart, right? The one with all the rules and hierarchies. That's the formal side. But then there's the web of personal relationships, the group dynamics, and all those unwritten rules about how things actually get done. That's the informal side. And this table here, it just breaks it down perfectly. So your formal organization, that runs on official written rules. But the informal side, that runs on social norms and values. One is totally planned out and structured, the other just kind of grows organically. And this difference even shows up in how people have studied this stuff. You have the classical theorists who are all about structure, and then the humanists who are way more focused on the people. But here's the real takeaway. The best organizations, they don't just build a strong formal structure. They get that they have to actively nurture the informal one too, because that's where the real innovation and agility come from. Okay, let's start building. Our first major tool is one you probably already know. Hierarchy. This is easily the most common and recognizable way to structure authority. It creates what some people call a scalar system, or to put it more simply, a ladder of command. So the core idea here is really simple. Everybody reports to someone above them. That's it. This is what creates that classic pyramid shape we all know, where authority flows from the very top all the way down, and responsibility is super clear at every single level. And you can see this ladder playing out perfectly in a lot of government systems. For instance, a section officer reports to an undersecretary, who then reports to a deputy secretary, and it just keeps going all the way up to the top. It creates this direct, unbroken channel for both communication and command. So, okay, you've got your hierarchy, now what? How do you actually manage it effectively? Well, that brings us to two really crucial principles that basically stop that ladder from turning into total chaos. And they are span of control and unity of command.
First up, span of control. This one asks a really simple question. How many people can one manager effectively supervise? Because think about it, right? If they have too many people, things are going to fall through the cracks. But if they have too few, well, now you've just got too many managers. Finding that sweet spot, that perfect number, is absolutely key for coordination and efficiency.
But what is that right number? Well, as it turns out, there's no magic answer. Look at this. In Japan, the average span of control is around 13, but in the USA, it can be as high as 60. That's a huge difference. What this tells us is that the ideal span really depends on things like how complex the work is, the quality of leadership, and even where the team is physically located. It's a great reminder that management is not one size fits all. It's all about context.
Okay, that second principle is unity of command. And this one is absolutely essential if you want clarity. It's a simple rule. Every single employee should have only one boss giving them orders, period. This is what prevents all that confusion, getting overlapping instructions from different people. And it makes it crystal clear who is responsible for what. All right, let's move on to a more advanced set of tools. See, once an organization really starts to grow, its leaders have to master the art of sharing the workload. And this is where two concepts, delegation and decentralization, become absolutely essential. I mean, think about it. No single person can possibly make every single decision in a large organization. It's not possible. So to scale effectively, leaders have to fight that urge to micromanage everything and instead learn to empower their teams by actually entrusting them with authority and responsibility.
Now, these two terms, delegation and decentralization, they get confused all the time, but the difference between them is so critical. So let's break this down. With delegation, you've got a manager transferring authority for one specific task to someone below them. You can almost think of it like they're loaning out their power for just one job. Decentralization, though, is way, way broader. It's a systematic dispersal of power across the entire organization. So it's not about a single task, it's a core philosophy. And here's the biggest difference of all, accountability. When you delegate, the ultimate accountability, it stays with the superior. But in a decentralized system, that accountability actually moves down the ladder right along with the authority. That's a huge shift. So let's do a quick recap of the building blocks we've put together. We started with a big idea, right? Organization is what lets us achieve things together that we could never do alone. We saw that every organization has two sides, the formal, rule-based structure and the informal, relationship-based one. Then we learned how hierarchy builds that clear ladder of command, and how things like span of control and unity of command keep it from falling into chaos. And finally, we saw how great leaders can scale their impact by sharing the workload through delegation and decentralization. And that just about wraps it up. But I want to leave you with a final thought. Now that you have this blueprint, start looking for it in the world around you. At your job, in your school, even on a sports team. Ask yourself, who's setting the rules? What's the real hierarchy versus the official one? Who seems to have a really wide span of control? Because once you start seeing these building blocks everywhere, I promise, you'll never look at a team or a company the same way again. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.